Welcome back to Big Apple Breakdown, Episode 2. Coming up on this episode, the New York Jets have a new head coach, a wild weekend of football in the NFL, both New York baseball teams falling behind the Dodgers, conference championship previews, voicemails, and more, all coming up right now.
Also, we want to remind you, follow us on all our social medias, subscribe to the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, share. On YouTube, on Spotify, rate 5 stars, comment, follow, share. Also follow us on all our social medias. They're linked in our bio on Spotify and YouTube. Big Apple Breakdown Show on Instagram, and I believe Big Apple Breakdown Sport on X, and then Big Apple Breakdown Show on TikTok.
Thank you for the support. All right, let's get into it. The New York Jets hire a head coach today as we're recording this. Aaron Glenn is set to be the next head coach. He is the franchise's 7th head coach since 2000. He was formerly the Lions defensive coordinator, and he's a former Jet. He was the 12th overall pick in 1994. Henry, as a Jets fan, let's hear your opinions about this move.
You know, I'm a little surprised. I like this move a lot, but I'm a little surprised that we went away from someone with experience. The Jets have done this a lot. You know, Todd Bowles, Robert Saleh, Rex Ryan, all defensive-minded guys who have no head coaching experience. So I feel like this was a little bit of the same old Jets move, but I'm very optimistic about Glenn. He is a former Jet. He knows what it's like to be a Jet. You know, Robert Saleh kind of got kicked in the teeth when he first got here, and he didn't know how to handle that. You know, we have a lot of the same characteristics out of Glenn and Saleh, saying like, oh, they won't take any nonsense. They won't back down. They won't let anyone push them around. And it's good to say, but we said that about Saleh in the beginning of his tenure, and all he's done is all he did was get pushed around in New York. So it's good to say it. We'll see how it goes. But, you know, Glenn spent a lot of time in New Orleans under Sean Payton, so he saw what a winning culture was like. When he got to Detroit, he saw how to turn around a losing culture and he helped do it too. So he knows how to do it, and I'm excited for him.
I think the Jets fans that are concerned, you know, they're just in their mind, like, we've seen this story before, but I think that this was the best option the Jets could get that was realistic out there. Obviously, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel off the board before this, and I don't think those options were ever realistic.
Yeah.
And now the next question is how he assembles his staff. There's rumors about bringing former 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks to be his defensive coordinator. And then he's trying to bring the Lions quarterback coach into the offensive coordinator, I believe.
Mark Brunell, he's only coached in the NFL for the last 4 years. Before that, he was a high school coach for the previous 8 years. You know, he spent time under Ben Johnson, and he was in that Lions organization when they turned it around. So I'd be interested to see what he could do, but obviously we don't know too much about him. There is a name, though, that I've been researching. It's Clint Kubiak. His dad's Gary Kubiak, won the Super Bowl with the Broncos. Clint Kubiak, or Gary Kubiak, comes from the Shanahan tree, Mike Shanahan. So Clint Kubiak also comes from that tree a little bit. He runs a similar offense, or he runs like the Shanahan offense, a lot of outside zoned runs and play action type stuff. So I don't know if he is realistic for the Jets, but that would be my preferred coach. It seems like Seattle's very interested in him.
To me, as an outsider, I like what the Jets are doing. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think Glenn could turn around the program. And now my next question is, I wonder if to do with Rodgers. And I've seen Michael Kay. Obviously, he's not really a reporter. He has some insider knowledge, of course. But he says Glenn wants to bring Rodgers back. And frankly, I think that's obviously the next big move besides assembling his staff. And I think that might be the right move to bring him back, because the best way for them to win next year, I think, is with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. And I think Glenn can handle it.
I totally agree. And it's also like, what's the other option? I know you could get into a situation where Rodgers really sucks next year, and then it kind of puts a bad start to the Glenn tenure, and then in a couple, 2 years from now, we might be looking back on this saying like, oh, well, he didn't really get a fair shake. But there's no better option right now out there than Aaron Rodgers. And I know that could piss off Garrett Wilson. People are saying that he might want to go request a trade. I think someone like Aaron Glenn is the perfect person for Garrett Wilson.
I agree. Totally agree.
He's seen the hardships of being a Jet, and he's seen the good times of being a Jet. Garrett Wilson has just always won in life. So, like, obviously you're going to come to the NFL, and it's going to be hard in the beginning when you're losing as a top pick. All top picks usually win their whole lives and then come to the NFL and have to handle losing. I think Aaron Glenn will sit him down and resonate with him more than Saleh did. I think Saleh was like more worried about like his job and stuff too. So I think Glenn will sit him down, resonate with him, be like, XYZ got us to this point. We're going to do XYZ to fix this next year. And then after next year, you're going to get a big payday. So, like, just stay on board with us.
Yeah, I think the players seem happy. I think Jermaine Johnson posted about him. DJ Reed, did I see?
DJ Reed, which that was surprising because he basically said, I can't wait for free agency.
Mm-hmm.
The Williams brothers, Breece Hall, a lot of players posted good stuff about Aaron Glenn.
I think the Jets are making the right move here, and it's interesting to see how he assembles that staff, if he gets the guys he wants, and how they move into the offseason and draft. Let's get into our first voicemail of the day.
Hi, this is Big Lou from New Jersey. I want to talk about the Giants. Here's what I think they should do in the draft. Draft Travis Hunter in the first round, and then Jackson Dart in the second round. I think he's the best quarterback out there. I don't want the other two guys. What do you think?
Okay, I have a lot to say about this call. First off, Jackson Dart is not the best quarterback in this class. He might not even be top 5. You can argue the second tier, the other second tier guys are better, like Jalen Milroe. I've even seen Kyle McCord go up in the draft. I think Will Howard's going to go higher than people think. But to get into the Giants drafting, and I've seen a lot of Giants fans say we should do this, drafting a quarterback in the second or third round is the worst possible solution. It'd just be a waste of a draft pick. Let me read you guys the recent round 2 and round 3 quarterbacks. 2023, Will Levis. 2021, Kyle Trask. 2020, Jalen Hurts. Hit. 2019, Drew Lock. 2017, Deshaun Kaiser. 2016, Christian Hackenberg, who never played a snap in the NFL. The round 3 guys are even worse. Hendon Hooker, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Kellen Mond, and Davis Mills. Drafting a quarterback in the second or third round will not work. It is a total waste of a pick. The Giants, who need help everywhere, they severely lack talent. You can find a franchise-changing player in the second or third round that can start day one. That is the worst possible solution the Giants could do. If they don't take a quarterback in the first round, let's say they go Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, they must just go through the free agent route.
I think drafting a QB in the second or third round would just be the complete opposite thing that Dable and Shane should do to save their job. If they draft Sanders and he wins 6 games, but he shows steady improvement, then why would you want to go off Dable to bring in someone else to try to develop him if Dable's already developing him? Turn around, you're just like you said, you're gonna find better talent at other positions in the second and third round. So I don't like the idea of drafting a QB in the second or third round.
I think that is a nightmare scenario for the Giants. Jackson Dart, he's not going to be your franchise quarterback because let's say we draft Dart or Jalen Milroe. We're going to take a quarterback in 2026 anyways.
Yeah.
Total waste of a pick. I really hope the Giants don't do this. Terrible idea. All right. So thank you for the call, though, Lou. I'm sorry to go off on it. But let's get into football this weekend. So, wild divisional weekend. I thought the games were awesome. Way better than the wild card round. First game, the Chiefs beat the Texans 23-14. It was a close game. This is probably the least competitive game, I'd say, out of all 4. But the Texans could have won it. And I got to ask, what did you think of the officiating this game? Because that's what I've seen a lot of complaints about.
See, and we were watching this game together, and I was complaining about the officiating. I'm not one to complain about officiating. I can't stand it when players are like, we lost a game because of the refs. I don't think the Texans lost a game because of the officiating. They still had chances in that game to even win it. But I think they just have a problem. I think Mahomes kind of created that problem with the second penalty. The first one, Will Anderson just got close to him, and they called it. It shouldn't have been a penalty. It was a bang-bang play. But that one, okay, I'll give them a little bit of leeway. That second one was ridiculous because Mahomes totally baited them into the penalty. Mm-hmm. He was running forward, and he kind of stopped, and he totally baited them, just fell backwards. They went and hit each other, and then one of them landed on Mahomes. But Mahomes baited that penalty, and I just thought it was ridiculous.
I don't think the officiating was great. However, the Texans made a lot of mistakes. they could have won this game. First off, the game, where they started the game off, kick return, free field goal.
Yeah.
One of your players was pushing your coach. You're in the divisional round. That cannot happen where you're arguing on the sidelines like against that. I feel like the Texans just weren't fully prepared. They made a lot of mistakes that ultimately costed them their season. And I didn't like how I think D'Amico Ryan and C.J. Stroud said something about the officiating. And that irked me the wrong way, man. They could have won this game regardless. And blaming the officials is just like a weak-minded fan move to me. But fans could do it. But as a player and a coach, I hated that look. I thought it was really bad leadership from your quarterback and your head coach to me.
I agree. It's just a bad look. As a fan, I hate it when fans do it. But if you're
It's
a player
annoying.
or a coach, like there's no way.
It's every Chiefs game. Like, they beat you guys. I'm sorry they beat your favorite team.
And-
like, it's annoying. Like, NFL's not rigging it. It just bothers me.
And the Chiefs, maybe not necessarily in this game, but they get calls against them too. And people just like don't say anything about it. But like when they get calls in their favor, I know. In a lot of the complaining is that like late in games they win late games from.
No, they don't. They know how to win. It's not.
They do know. They do know how to win.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is because it just so happens that penalty. Penalty comes in
the
a
penalties
late.
do happen
In a late situation.
I just think it's every week. I get America sick of seeing the Chiefs win, but like, come on, come up with something else. It's just frustrating to hear every week. And to me, the Texans, back-to-back years lost in the divisional round. Way different every year than last year. Last year, they're a young, up-and-coming team. This year, they had the expectations. Injuries happen, but I still think they're a tier away from the top three teams in the AFC with the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens. And they got in the offseason, they got to work on a way to become in that tier to compete with those teams to me.
Yeah, I thought this year obviously was different than last year because they had these expectations coming into the year, but then midway through the season they got tampered down a lot because of they just weren't playing as well as we thought they should have been in the beginning of the year. So in a way, I feel like it's kind of a successful season looking back on it now.
They won the playoff game. I mean, people thought, if they are not in the AFC South, I don't know if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, that is
if you
true.
think about that division's terrible, and they beat the Chargers, who are kind of just playoff chokers, but overall, they got some improvements to do. I like what they're building there.
They're also
still
very
just year
young,
two.
and-
Sophomore slump with Stroud.
And they did go all in, not all in, but they made some good moves getting some an older
Diggs
running
got
back
hurt,
and Diggs.
and
Yeah,
then Tank Dell got hurt again.
Tank Dell got hurt.
It's frustrating if you're a Texans fan, but
they have a lot to build on.
Chiefs are back in the AFC
yeah.
Championship. Mahomes moves on to 7-0 in the divisional round. That guy does not lose games in the divisional round. The next game, which
Oh, wait, also
Yeah, one more thing?
D-Hop revenge game.
totally, I didn't even think about that. Good call out. Good for him. He's in his first championship game.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that this week. Now, to me, this is I think this is the best upset in the NFL. Correct me if you think of a bigger upset since this. Since the Titans beat the 1-seed Ravens in 2019, I believe the year was when the Ravens were just dogs that year. Lamar's first MVP. The Washington Commanders, led by rookie Jaden Daniels, upset the 15-2 Detroit Lions, who had Super Bowl aspirations. And this game was just nuts to watch from the start.
It was
Fascinating
everyone
game.
just flying around all over the place, both sides. But Washington got out to that 10-point lead, and then it was always like a 10 or 7-point lead pretty much the whole way.
And, I mean, Jaden Daniels is a stud, man. This guy's special.
He is.
I know it's his rookie year. This guy's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, I feel like. I'm watching him.
The Eagles' defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, today said he's young on the birth certificate, but he plays on film, he's old, saying that he plays like a vet.
Awesome player. I mean, people compared him kind of Lamar Jackson when he was coming in. He's got a cannon in the pocket.
better-
Some of the plays he was making, way better than Lamar's
Better
rookie year.
thrower of the football. Also, he can stand in the pocket and he's so composed. He feels the pressure coming and he just hangs in there and just dials up defense.
And from the Lions standpoint, huge disappointment. No other way to say it. Absolute failure of an opportunity for them. 15-2, and I would say a weaker NFC this year. Really, if they lost to the Eagles, that's one thing. But there was no reason they should have lost this game. They just got outplayed. I think too many trick plays hurt them. I think the game really ended after Jameson Williams through that interception, I felt like they would have eventually scored, and back and forth, it still would have went. And man, it's tough. I mean, last year the Lions could have beat the 49ers NFC Championship. Different standards. They were kind of young and upcoming that year. And part of me just thinks, like, I don't know if they're thinking negative. I think they might have blew their shot.
I don't think. Well, going back to the Jameson Williams thing for a second, I don't get why you don't have the ball in your quarterback's hand in that situation. Jared Goff should have been throwing the ball. You can't be like you shouldn't be going to.
They got too cute with this stuff.
Some dumb trick play.
Last year, the Niners, they went for it way too much on fourth down. When I remember that,
and it just felt like Dan Campbell and Dan Quinn, they both are aggressive and go for it, but it feels like Dan Quinn is more calculated in his aggressiveness, where Dan Campbell's more like this long fourth down, but like, what if we get it? Like, that'd be awesome. Then I'll look like a smart guy if I get this. But I'm sorry, you asked a question just before, but
I just think it might be close. I think they might have blew their shot. Personally, you don't go 15-2 too much. That division's only going to get better. The Vikings, I think, will be good next year. The Packers are going to get better. The Bears just took your offensive coordinator, who was the best head coach option, I think, around the league. And, man, I mean, like, I don't think you can win with Jared Goff. I'm going to say it. When the going gets tough, he shows his flaws. He didn't play. He turned the ball over 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I think he turned it over 3 times.
He threw a pick 6. He threw a pick at the end of the half, and then he fumbled, I believe.
Yeah.
And
they had 5 turnovers total.
I know I'm going to sound like a hater, but he was horrendous in the Super Bowl, obviously all those years ago with the Rams. And I just think he's good. You could build a system around him, but I don't think that's a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with.
I think the Lions will be just fine. And I say this just because Dan Campbell's going to learn from this. He's going to come back and hopefully, maybe not, but hopefully do things differently. Also, that whole culture and everything there is from Dan Campbell top down. So someone else will come in, fill the offensive coordinator position. Someone else will come in, fill the defensive coordinator position. Also, the Lions have the 5th highest cap space this offseason. So next year, it'll be a more talented team. So they should go out there with more talent and then hopefully lead to more wins.
See, I like your optimism about them, but to me, you look at teams that are constantly great. What are they best? What's their strength? Quarterback.
Yeah.
The Lions their strength will never be quarterback. Goff was drafted 2016. He's on almost. I think he's on year 10, right? It'd be year 10, 9 or 10 next year. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, next year, year 9, I guess.
But you look at just teams that are consistently great in the playoffs. Their strength is their quarterback, and that's not the Lions. And I don't think you can ever win a Super Bowl with Goff.
I don't like I don't like just like writing off these quarterbacks like that though, because I know it's like very one in a million.
Am I a hater?
No,
much?
I don't think so.
It's okay, you can say it.
Well, maybe I'm just like a little bit too optimistic because it is like 1 in a million, but then you do get these guys that go on special runs like Joe Flacco, Nick Foles. I know that's like so 1 in a million. Even Eli Manning's both the Super Bowls. Like he wasn't statistically.
Eli Manning's a better quarterback than Jared Goff.
Oh, obviously. But he wasn't a statistically great quarterback, and he went on these magical runs.
That's,
so
that's a good point.
So like a quarterback can catch fire, but I do get it. I think he's just been too good to be like, let's move off of him. Because there's so many
they're not
teams.
going to move off him yet.
Yeah, I get that. But there's so many teams that would love to have Jared Goff as their quarterback.
I don't know about that.
I think there are.
I don't know about that, man.
Actually,
I think it's a perfect system. I think, if he was with the Niners, sure, I think he could be successful. But, you're telling me both the New York teams would be like, oh, let's give up everything for Jared Goff. He's not that type of quarterback.
I wouldn't say give up everything, but I would say they would be happy to have him.
Okay.
Both New York teams would be happy to have him. But they would not give up everything for Jared Goff.
All right. Well, huge disappointment for the Lions. Congrats to the Commanders and their fans. But our next game, another NFC matchup, Eagles-Rams, and Saquon Barkley did his thing again. And this was another frustrating game for me to watch because I'm an Eagles hater. I'm a Giants fan. I naturally cheer for whoever they play. And the Rams could have won this game, man. They had many opportunities. They got a safety, and then their Kyron Williams fumbled, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just felt like they had many opportunities to win. The elements weren't great, but that's part of football. And If you're talking about windows closed, I think the Rams. I don't know if they're ever going to be back this close to winning it all again. Personally,
I don't think they're ever going to win it all again, but I don't think that they should just move.
I don't think they'll blow it up. But
yeah, I don't think they'll blow it up. Also, because
down.
now they have their picks back, which they didn't have for the longest time. They drafted Jared Verse last year. They have Puka Nacua. So like they have a couple of young pieces. So I think that they should just like try to bridge this next gap and just keep Stafford and for as long as he wants to play, or like at least next year or the next 2 years.
And for the Eagles, this team is weirdly quiet. The media's not talking about it too much. 2 years ago, obviously, they made the Super Bowl. And last year, they had one of the worst midseason collapses I've seen in recent memory. But here they are, back hosting an NFC Championship game with having a prime time opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl. And I know, like I said, I'm an Eagles hater, but I got to give this team props. Like, they didn't pull a lines. They didn't blow their chance. They beat the teams they're supposed to, and now they have a real shot to go back to the Super Bowl.
I do got to say, this felt like a game, though, that the Eagles would lose.
I thought they were going to blow it at the end.
I just remember back last year when the Eagles lost to the Jets, and the Eagles started like 11-1 or something, and their one loss was to the Jets. They totally blew it down the end. When they lost to the Commanders earlier this year, granted that was Kenny Pickett in the game, but they totally blew it. Like it would come from behind win, and even last time they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs came back from 10. So
one of their losses this year, Saquon dropped a 2-point conversion, which did someone else drop a 2-point conversion this weekend? A little previewing. Sorry. But okay. But anyways, I thought the Eagles were gonna blow it. They didn't. They got the win. Now they have a primetime shot to go back to the Super Bowl. And speaking of dropping 2-point conversions,
we have a voicemail about the end of this game.
Okay, we'll get into that first.
Yeah, this is Hayden. The Eagles are such frauds. Lucky win. Not really sure what our center was doing there at the end, or Kevin Dotson, our guard. Also, Matthew Stafford. Love him. Big Rams fan, right? Threw the fucking ball out of bounds on the last fucking play of the game and not to his Triple Crown winning Super Bowl MVP winning wide receiver of Super Cup. I just need some Henry Shelley explanation on why the fuck that happened. Thanks.
All right, Henry. All right. He's asking you, so.
That last play was weird.
It was bad. Yeah.
Well, actually, I feel like you got to take it to the play before that. It was like 3rd and 2.
Higbee was open. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. But Jared Goff took the sack. Well, it wasn't his fault.
Stafford, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, my bad. It wasn't his fault. The center and guard both just like turned each the wrong direction, and Carter had just a free shot at him. So that backed them up. It was like 4th and 11, and he had time on it. And even like it seemed like Puka Nacua, he was covered, but it seemed like he had position on the guy. In that situation, you got to give your receiver a chance to make the play. You can't just throw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
And he just didn't give Puka a chance to make the play. Threw it out of bounds. That just can't happen. Like I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, definitely frustrating if you're a Rams fan. And like I said, I think it's frustrating because if I was a Rams fan, I'd be like, will we ever make it back to this moment again? But okay, on to the game of the week. Ravens, Bills. Bills get the win. The Bills played a cleaner game, but man, the Ravens had chances to win. And if I was a Ravens fan, I'd be sick right now. That was one of those losses where you literally find a new hobby. It's in your nightmares. You ask yourself why you love sports so much. Heartbreaking. That's all I could say about that game.
Yeah, big drop by Mark Andrews there on the 2-point conversion. I know you were saying that Lamar's legacy is ruined because of that.
No. He had a legacy drive ruined. He had an awesome drive. That drive down the field, wide open 2-point conversion, and his teammate dropped the ball, and he also fumbled. A quarter earlier, maybe not even. Mark Andrews, man. I mean, you're a great player, but it's frustrating. I'm sick for Lamar. Like I actually am. That was his moment. And, man, that's a terrible way to end your season. That's an awful way.
Just for the Ravens' offense in general, they had Nozay Flowers. They were leaning heavily on their tight ends. I just didn't think that that's just not a winning formula in the long run. It was Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews, and then Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Like that was their offense.
And with the Ravens, what it kind of reminded me of with like that was Lamar's game. I thought Lamar played well in the playoffs for his standards before. And you want to know what kind of reminded me of, since it's a New York sports podcast, when Judge hit the home run off Clase to tie it, and the Yankees blew the game, I was like, that was his moment.
Yeah.
And this was Lamar's moment. He had an awesome drive. And I think they were trending towards winning that game. In the second half, I think they outplayed the Bills. Just these turnovers are part of the game, man. You can't lose the turnover battle in the playoffs like that. Every game, the winners won the turnover battle. That's all you need to know about winning a football game.
Chiefs-Texans game, there were no turnovers in that game.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
that. But they outgained them yardage-wise by 143. Like,
they should have won.
Yeah, they totally should have won. They had 3 turnovers. The Bills had no turnovers.
Bills played a cleaner game. Shout out to them. It wasn't an Allen crazy stats game like it normally is. And now if you're the Bills, you have your shot against the Grand Titan again, the Kansas City Chiefs. Part 4 in the AFC Championship this year. And this is what the Bills have been waiting for, man. Like, this game, like, it was just a step in the way, and now they get what they want. We'll get into it more, but I am pumped for this AFC Championship.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The 2 best quarterbacks of this generation going at it. Who do you think takes this one?
This game, I think it's the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to take it, man.
I think it's the Chiefs, too. I got to say, I want the Bills to win, but I think the Chiefs are just a better all-around team. That defense is better. Obviously, Mahomes and Kelsey always turns it up in the playoffs. He's older. He's lost a step, but he always turns it up in the playoffs. I don't see the Chiefs losing this game.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I've been going back and forth because I think the Bills, like, they might be a better team, but it's such a mental thing. It's got to be a mental thing. And to me, if the Bills were going to beat the Chiefs, it would have been at home last year, and they blew it. It always was, we've always played an Arrowhead, we've never played at home, and they had their shot last year and blew it.
Yeah.
They beat them in the regular season, but that doesn't mean anything. If Bills fans are talking about beating them in the regular season, you're a damn fool. It doesn't matter.
I actually think the Chiefs are an all-around better team. I think,
okay.
I think that they got that pass rush, and if you in the Texans game, it felt like Spagnuolo timed up that pass rush and sent the blitz perfectly. And Xavier Worthy is coming alive. He's been good all year, but he's coming alive. He had a really nice game last week, made a couple nice catches. I just don't see the Bills overcoming the Chiefs.
Part of me wonders if the NFL missed their shot at the Chiefs last year, because I think they have an easier run this year. Last year was a tough run for them, and then they won the Super Bowl. This year, man, it's almost like the Super Bowl's lining up for them again. That's starting to get with me in the back of my head.
I see that.
Also, it's starting to line up for them. I'm not gonna lie.
Also, Mahomes has evolved a little bit into a different player. He's always been great, talented, but now his numbers don't jump out at you as much.
No,
but he's just a
not.
winner. That's what he does. He finds a way to win over and over again.
And their defense is good. They just know it. They just know what they're doing. And I mean, I also think if the Bills don't beat the Chiefs this time, I don't think they're ever going to beat them.
Oh, yeah.
I legit just don't think they'll ever beat them. The Bills need this game. And it's almost weird. If the Chiefs lose, I wonder, this may sound crazy, but I feel like Chiefs almost have not much to lase. If they lose, who cares? Not everyone can win every year. But the Bills need this win.
I was thinking, I forgot, I saw something earlier today, and I was thinking about this. It's when a quarterback wins a Super Bowl after losing over and over again, they have this weight lifted off their shoulders almost. But guys like Mahomes, he never had to go through that because he literally won a Super Bowl in his second season. Yep. So he's basically just out there, has nothing to lose.
He's been the 7 straight AFC. It's nuts.
Literally since
no one can beat this guy.
Started. Yeah.
It's crazy. Only Brady and Burrow has beaten him in the playoffs. That's nuts. The greatest quarterback of all time, who he might get past if a certain guy three-peats this year. But that's the only time he's been beaten. And then with Joe Burrow, who the Bengals, unfortunately, just can't find themselves in a position, which I personally would rather see that. Like, I just think the Chiefs own the Bills. Mm-hmm. I think the Bengals actually they're built to beat the Chiefs, honestly, and I think the Chiefs know it. I also personally, I think I kind of wish the Ravens won last week. I know Bills fans probably think I'm a hater, but I just think it's a mental thing. And the way I could compare it to is I've seen it with my team, with the Yankees and Astros, total mental thing at this point. And I just don't know I just don't think they can beat them, man.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I think Allen has a much better chance to beat him than Lamar does.
Yes, because Allen plays better in the playoffs. I get your point.
Yeah.
But I think if Lamar played, because Allen's going to play well. I'm confident. He plays well every time in the playoffs. If Lamar plays well like he should in the regular season, I think they could have beaten them.
Okay.
But, we're not going to see it this year. It's the Bills. And, I mean, I hope the Bills win. I would like to see Mahomes get the throne and have a little adversity for the Chiefs. But I'm going my gut with the Chiefs. Let's get into some voicemails before we talk about the NFC Championship, which we'll save for later on.
Hi, I have two questions this week. My football question. Do you think it is blatantly obvious that the NFL favors the Kansas City Chiefs, or are us fans just more critical because we don't want to see them win? To me, it always seems like their right tackle moves a half a second before the ball does, and he never gets called. I don't see other teams doing it as much as they do. And then some of these roughing calls on Mahomes, is he basically the new Brady, and any time he is touched, is he going to be a flag? So my second question, do you think there's any way now that Pete Alonso does not re-sign with the Mets? It seems like teams are not interested in him, or other teams are filling their needs with other players. As a Mets fan, I hope he returns to the Mets. Thank you. Bye.
So the first part, we kind of mentioned the Chiefs. I don't think the NFL is rigging it. With the right tackle, I believe it's the way he's lined up. It's legal for him to leave a little early because I think he lines up behind the guard that a normal right tackle would.
It's definitely not legal for him to leave a little early. I just think that doesn't get called.
Yeah, I forget.
They put an emphasis on calling it early in the year.
It was a big thing 2023 with the Lions. I remember it was week
Okay.
1. And it's something where it's legal. I don't remember exactly what it is.
Maybe he's like off the line of scrimmage. So
yeah, something like that.
Almost like going in motion.
But,
I don't know.
I don't think the NFL's rigging it for the Chiefs. I really don't.
Also, I know there were it was not necessarily that they're leaving early because they used to line up further back. You remember that?
Yes.
And then they started putting more of an emphasis
Yeah.
on guys going closer to the line of scrimmage. So now these guys are trying to leave early, trying to get away with it.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone does it in a sense. There's always, if you're watching a game, there's always like a time where like, oh, he left early. I feel like that just happens, and yeah, I don't know.
And then with the Mahomes Brady like getting all the calls, I just think that's how naturally we're gonna think because nobody wants Mahomes to win, nobody wants Brady to win. We're gonna think they get all the calls, and they do. They're gonna get more calls than a Jaden Daniels rookie.
Yeah. Also,
yes.
Also, they are gonna get more calls than something like that because if Mahomes gets hurt or Brady back in the day would get hurt, like that does.
Yeah, they're
it does hurt
established.
like the league's bottom line because people
They're
do
the face
want
of the league,
people
yeah.
do tune in to watch them play just to like try to root for them to lose.
And your second question about Alonso. So earlier in the week, it was reported that the Mets are looking at Plan B from Pete Alonso, and negotiations aren't going well. And I do think there is a path for him to return, simply because I think it's the best fit player-wise with him in the Mets. However, I don't think they're the favorites. I think the Blue Jays might sign Alonso.
I think the Blue Jays are the favorite too, but I do see a path where he gets back to New York because, honestly, this isn't like I just don't see him playing anywhere else. Like the Blue Jays are in, and then they said there's another mystery team, and people are speculating that's either Seattle or Texas. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know what hitter wants to go to Seattle. I feel like a lot of hitters, their numbers go down when they go to Seattle. So
I'm a little confused what the Mets were doing. We'll talk about the Mets now. So obviously they signed Soto, like got the biggest star in free agency, but their moves since are a little concerning to me, especially seeing, they're trying to catch up with the Dodgers. Obviously they are in the National League, but they haven't added anything around him. They don't have protection around Soto. And obviously when you just saw the success Soto and Judge had, obviously you're not going to find an Aaron Judge, but I would think you want a right-handed power hitter behind him. Mm-hmm. And Alonso's perfect. And I just think it's a little weird why they're giving him the cold shoulder.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about, you could slot him in behind Soto in that lineup, and it is like putting
Yeah, like
kind of
he's no Aaron Judge,
yeah,
but like
trying to
power hitter,
recreate
yeah.
that the best you could. I never really thought about that, and yeah, they should do that honestly.
And like they have the richest owner in baseball, but like they haven't done anything since Soto. They signed AJ Minter, who's a nice reliever. They could have gotten Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott went to the Dodgers. And they're trying to. The NL's tough, man. Like, if I'm a Mets fan, I'm a little frustrated with what they're doing. Like, I just don't know if they don't love any of these guys out there and they don't think it's worth it. And, I think Mets fans should trust David Stearns. But their payroll is only $269 million, and they're the richest team in baseball. And the Dodgers have $110 million more payroll. So I'm just a little shocked they haven't spent really anywhere else.
Yeah, you are right. Like, I don't get why they aren't trying to spend to keep up with the Dodgers because they have the owner to do it.
And I think some of the Mets fans are a little frustrated too because obviously they got Soto, and now it's like, all right, like what are we waiting for? I think the Mets' dream is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but that's gonna have to be next year. The Mets want to win now. They just were in the NLCS. Obviously, I don't think they were a Juan Soto away from being the Dodgers. Dodgers got better from last year, but I think the Mets got to add pieces to keep up with the Braves, the Phillies, these other teams in the National League, just to even make the playoffs. Like, their roster's not great if you look at it.
No, yeah, it's really not. I could also see a world where they think that Guerrero could come available at the trade deadline.
That's a possibility.
If the Blue Jays don't think he's going to resign, then why hold on to him?
You have to be confident. That's a risk trading for Vladimir Guerrero at the trade deadline because you're going to have to give up a lot, and you don't know if he's going to walk.
But I would think you would have to give up less at the trade deadline than you give up right now.
You'd be going for a full season now. I just think that's a major difference in it. The trade, like, think of it, that's like 60 games only, and the Mets would have to be like a playoff contender for sure to do that move.
Also, but
the offseason's not over yet, so they could add, but I don't know, man. They definitely need to add a couple pieces to me still. The roster's flawed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
And like the Dodgers keep adding, which some people think the Dodgers are unfair. They added Roki Sasaki for basically nothing. Tanner Scott, who was the best relief pitcher available. Kirby Yates, who's also good. Are the Dodgers unfair? Do you think they're unfair?
No. They have a great roster on paper. I think we're crowning the Dodgers too early. Not us individually.
Yeah, no, like the media in general.
People out there, yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people are looking up when was the last back-to-back champion in baseball. It's been a quarter of a century. It was the Yankees during their three-peat. So I think people are relying on that. Their roster's loaded, man. Like, they got a loaded roster. And luckily, it's not like the NBA, like, the Kevin Durant Warriors won it every year no matter what. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, anything can happen, but they just keep adding, man. They just don't stop spending.
There are times in baseball where it's like, oh, this roster looks unbeatable, and then they lose in a DS series or they lose in the championship series. The Dodgers last year looked unbeatable, or on paper looked unbeatable, and the Padres, some could argue, should have won that series. Even a couple years ago when Diamondbacks kind of came out of nowhere and beat the Dodgers. So
yeah, I mean, they had better rosters then, you're right. And this year they had help from Tommy Edman, Kiki Hernandez, and even Teoscar Hernandez wasn't supposed to be this good for the contract they got him for originally. And roster-wise, it's scary what they could be, though, I will say.
I feel like, because you do hear some people be like, oh, like Tommy Edman came out of nowhere, or even Kike Hernandez stepped up. But championship teams do that. Like the Yankees need a couple guys to step up and do that. That's how you win a title from guys you wouldn't expect to step up. They don't even have to do extraordinary things. They have to step up and maybe come up with a big hit or something like that.
And I think, I mean, as a Yankees fan, I'm a little frustrated because that used to be us type sense. Luckily, I think Mets fans are more annoyed because they have to get through the Dodgers to make the World Series. The Yankees could avoid the Dodgers all the way to the World Series. Now, if those two match up again, people are going to think the Yankees are going to get smoked. But, realistically, as the roster now, and I think the Yankees need to add an impact bat. I really do. I would be very frustrated if they go. I would be ashamed of the Yankees if they go into the year with DJ LeMahieu at third base opening day.
I don't think it'd be DJ though. I think it'd be Peraza.
That same. I don't
Okay,
care. Like
okay.
I don't care who it is. Like
That's fair.
There's no reason to do that with this window you have. If you're trying to compete with the Dodgers, there's no reason to have that as your option.
Would you want Arise at second? Like, what would you want?
I don't know what I don't think I want to rise, but why can't the Yankees? So Alex Bregman market's drying up, and I'm paying attention to this. I don't think, and something with Bregman, which I'll go on later. Boris type deal where it's like the Bellinger, he can opt out. It's a 3-year, you can opt out after each year. Why can't the Yankees do that? Why can't the Yankees give a high AAV for a shorter deal? You're the New York Yankees. You have all the money. Like you don't need to be cheap. And Bregman helps you win now.
And their payroll right now is like $24 million less than last year. So
exactly,
I do like the idea of Bregman. I also kind of like him or the idea of trade for Nolan.
I don't hate
Arenado.
that anymore either. I think Nolan Arenado could be a good player for the Yankees. He'd be way better than what third base was last year.
I honestly wasn't even thinking of Bregman because I feel like that's kind of like
I know
fallen off.
yeah.
But I guess it is like dark horse. That could come back.
I get not doing the long term thing with him.
Yeah.
But if it's a shorter term deal, I think the Yankees should go for it. And another reason why, because I think if Alex Bregman, I think the Red Sox are the favorites for him. And that might be your biggest competitor in the AL.
Yeah, and then you get him and the Red Sox don't get him. So that's like a double win.
And the Red Sox, one, it's a rivalry. And the Red Sox got better this offseason. And it might come down to those two teams for the pennant, realistically.
Yeah.
So I think the Yankees I'm a little scared they're just going to sit comfortably like, oh, we're the best team in the AL still, which they probably are. But that shouldn't be satisfaction for the Yankees. They shouldn't hope the Dodgers have to get beat in the playoffs in an upset to win it all.
Yeah.
They should create a roster that's good enough to compete with the Dodgers.
Beat them, yeah. I kind of like Peraza. I want to see what he can do, but I do totally agree with you that like that just would not be the right move to put him out there at third when Bregman's out there, or you could trade for an Arenado.
All right, you want to get another voicemail?
Yeah.
Hey guys, my biggest question for the show today is, should Dan Campbell be receiving way more backlash than he is as a coach who has very, very, very high expectations and a very good roster and coming in at a 1 seed with no Super Bowl appearances? If Nick Sirianni came in as a 1 seed and lost like that on national television to a rookie quarterback, I think he would be fired already, to be honest. And I think he gets some unreasonable hate, but there's no excuse for why Dan Campbell shouldn't be. And honestly, I feel like he holds that team back in a way that people don't realize yet. And his window could be closing soon, just as Jared Goff's is, but that's also a big overreaction after this game and doesn't define their future. And just one last thing I wanted to say is, how about those Georgia boys up front for Philly this week? Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are dogs, and obviously Saquon. But, yeah, go Birds, and we're coming for the Commanders.
All right, thanks for the call. I'm right on board with you. I think Dan Campbell's getting way more hate, and I think it's just because the media kind of protects him because people like Dan Campbell. People don't like Nick Sirianni. I'm right with you. He should be getting more backlash. And I also agree that the window's closing. I mean, Dan Campbell, like we mentioned earlier, he's just way too aggressive. And I think you make all really good points there. He should be getting more backlash. The Lions should have been at least an NFC Championship, if not the Super Bowl, and total disappointment, and he should be getting more backlash.
The one thing I will say, I don't think, like obviously Nick Sirianni would be getting a lot of backlash for that, but Nick Sirianni, this caller thinks he almost seems to think that he's unfairly criticized. Nick Sirianni brings all that on himself.
I think that's the difference, but I think obviously like Nick Sirianni's a cocky guy, but I think he's just like thinking just pure expectation-wise. Like last year, Nick Sirianni got a lot of hate. It was a bad year for the Eagles. And I feel like the media is kind of protecting Dan Campbell a little bit.
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. They definitely are. They definitely are protecting him a little bit, but
And with the Sirianni comparison, I was thinking about this. Eagles lost both their coordinators 2 years ago when they made the Super Bowl, and it was a struggle for the Eagles the next year. They had a mess with the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. They moved on from both. Dang, the Lions could be headed that direction, man. And losing 2 coordinators affects you a lot, man.
I could see that. I just think the Eagles have a lot of like fiery personalities, like AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts not so much, but AJ Brown like is a big one on that offense. He seems to always be. I think the Eagles do it to themselves in a sense, and I feel like
I agree. They're cocky. They're annoying. Their fans are annoying.
Yeah.
People don't like their fans.
The culture of Detroit starts and ends with Dan Campbell. Like what he says goes pretty much, and they like even Amon-Ra St. Brown has like a podcast and everything, but you don't hear. But he doesn't like use it in a bad way. He doesn't have these antics.
Yeah.
And we've never seen it. The Eagles last year when they went out to play the Bucs, they almost looked like dead men walking. Like you knew that they were going to lose that game just because of all like the in-house drama.
It's weird
that was
how much
coming out
drama
of that.
they have with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts don't like each other.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. Because, like, I saw their relationship stable. Like, damn, man, you're 14-3 and you can't get along. Like,
Also, like-
what's it going to look like when you're struggling?
AJ Brown doesn't like Jalen Hurts.
No, it's a little weird. The chemistry's a little weird, but they're winning, so it looks fine right now.
So yeah, I don't think that the Eagles would necessarily be getting unfair backlash from that. I feel like they bring all the backlash on themselves. And I'm not even like an Eagles hater.
Yeah, no.
Or anything.
Yeah.
I know you don't like the Eagles.
I am.
but,
I'm
like,
actually defending the Eagles right now.
Yeah.
But, okay, so one thing I want to say before we move on to our next fun little topic with the Giants and Jets, Saquon. And this pisses me off when everyone's like, oh, the Giants shouldn't have let him go. I got an analogy for this. All right, you're in a relationship. You know you're not going to marry you're not going to marry the girl or guy, whatever. You break up because it's not going to work out with that person. The reason why it sucks is because that person went to the person the girl told you not to worry about when you were dating, and they're a perfect match. You're seeing them all over social media, rubbing in your face. That guy's really rich. They get married, and it's successful.
Yeah, but you also like, in a sense, in this analogy, pushed them that way.
What do you mean?
Like
that might have been Saquon with the Giants. They could have pushed.
No,
Yeah.
but like the girl could have stayed and you guys could have had fun together.
Yeah, but you
pushed her.
Saquon and the Giants were never a good marriage. What would the Giants been with Saquon? 4 wins this year. It was never going to work. It just sucks where he went, and it gets rubbed in your face every weekend.
Yeah.
So like, was that not a good analogy?
No, that was a good
Yeah, it
analogy.
was.
But like he could have just stayed and you guys could have had fun.
He could have stayed, and you're stuck in a bad marriage. That's what it would have been.
Okay.
You're stuck in a bad relationship with the
Okay.
girl or guy, and you're stuck in a bad marriage. It doesn't work out. Okay, so we have a fun little topic which you as the audience can be involved in as well. So, conference championship weekend, awesome weekend, and believe it or not, from 2007 to 2011, the Jets and Giants were participants of this weekend 4 out of 5 years. So, I have a little discussion for us, and you can answer this in the comments or YouTube, wherever you're watching this. What team makes it back to the conference championship first, Jets or Giants? And let's say the same. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and say it at the same time. Ready?
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jets.
Okay.
I thought we were gonna
right.
debate this.
Okay. I'll go first because I'm the Giants fan.
Okay.
The Giants are screwed. Look at the teams in NFC Championship right now, both in your division. The Eagles and Commanders are not going anywhere anytime soon, especially the Commanders. Maybe the Eagles are like a 4 or 5 year window. The Commanders might have a 10 to 15 year window, and the Giants might be screwed, man. That's just my mindset of it.
Yeah. The reason I picked the Jets might be screwed too. They got Josh Allen in their division. They got the Patriots, who obviously right
That
now
division's more open.
That division is more open, but feels like the Patriots are kind of going to be coming back. Like Vrabel is going to bring that Belichick-like mentality there. They brought back Josh McDaniels, and he might be like the best coordinator ever.
Well,
with with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, one thing I'll say about we'll talk about that a little more later.
Okay.
But so first off, I don't have confidence in the Jets. I just think the Giants are so screwed. That's my mindset with this.
And the reason I picked the Jets is because they have a more talented roster. They had 6 or 7 close games against like Denver, Minnesota, Buffalo, a game against New England, and then Colts, Seahawks, and one of the games against the Dolphins. That's 6 or 7 games that like a good team would go in and win those games. A couple of them were just kicking, missed field goals. A couple of them were like late, wrong route ran or bad interception by Rodgers. And if you win 5 of those games, you win 10 games and probably make the playoffs. So like it's a very talented team, but like just a badly coached team. They fired their coach in the middle of the season, and if that team is a better coached team, we would make the playoffs like this year. So like, I think they're just closer.
Yeah, this is sad to think about because I might be 40 or 50 when the Giants make the next NFC Championship. It just sucks because like I remember the 49ers won really well when we beat them, and it was such an awesome memory. And I just don't think they're going to make it anytime soon. So
I think the Giants, like if we're talking about next year, I think
next year it's obviously the Jets.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, say each team had a constructive roster and make it next year. I think the Giants' only hope would be like Dable and Shane getting desperate and like it somehow like pays off.
Yeah,
but also
I don't know.
I don't see the Jets making the playoffs next year.
No,
either. So
I just think
even if Rodgers comes back,
I look at the
we make
future of the
playoffs.
AFC East compared to the NFC East.
Yeah.
I think it's questionable. And like even the Bills right now, the Bills are older than the Eagles and the Commanders. And Dallas is never going to be terrible. Like I just don't think Jerry Jones would let that happen. And I think Jerry Jones is really old, so I wonder if he just goes all in before he passes away, unfortunately, cuz he's
I
in
can
his
see
80s.
that. I can see
like
that.
his time's running out. So I think the NFC East could be tough for the Giants. And like the Commanders, they used to own the Commanders, but I think that's over. Let's do another voicemail.
Hey, it's up Big Apple Sports. This is Kevin calling in from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I just want to say I love what you guys are doing with the show. I'm a big fan. My question for you guys is, what do you think, besides quarterback, the Giants need to address the most in free agency? And how are they going to go about doing that? Because obviously we're not just a quarterback away. Definitely need some pieces in the secondary, defense as a whole, and then definitely need some spots on the O-line. But besides quarterback, just what do you guys think is the most important position on the field for the Giants?
So I think you're right on the money. Besides quarterback, corner, I think will be their top priority. And other moves, I think they need to address. Another interior defensive lineman, Dexter Lawrence. I thought the second interior defensive lineman they've had has been really bad the past couple years. And then offensive line depth is another one, which is underrated. The Giants are known for having a bad offensive line, but last year they actually had before Andrew Thomas got hurt, who was one of the best tackles in the league, they had a decent offensive line. But their problem is when he gets hurt, it just goes so bad, that offensive line. And I think they need to have more depth because people get hurt all the time in that position.
Obviously, I don't pay as close attention to the Giants as you do. But I do notice like that secondary. And then I think that I know Abdul Carter's not an interior lineman, but I think if he's there, you take him, you could pair him with Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, maybe find another interior lineman a little bit later in the draft. That pass rush could be like
if they love Abdul Carter, they should take him because Kayvon Thibodeau's there right now, but he's in his 4th year, and I don't love the player he is, so I think you could look to trade him if you love Abdul Carter. And the Giants are bad enough where they should just draft whoever they love the most. And then one more thing I'll say, I think middle linebacker could become opening because Bobby Okereke, I think, could get cut for cap reasons. Other head coaching news around the NFL. First, Mike Vrabel went to the Patriots. You mentioned a little earlier. So thoughts on this move?
I think it's a great move. It almost feels like the Patriots are going to be back, with Drake May. He grew a lot throughout the season. He just looks like a really good prospect. And Vrabel in Tennessee, like I always loved him. When they fired him, I was like, they're really messing up here.
I thought it was bad too.
He seems almost like a Mike Tomlin or Harbaugh type, where it's like even when those teams go through quote unquote bad years, which honestly usually are not bad years, their fan base usually gets a little restless and they're like, get him out of here. Like, we're never going to get over the hump with these guys. But there's a reason why you stick with a guy like that, because they're just like a steady voice, and he's just like a CEO type head coach.
I'm not ready to jump on this Patriots are back bandwagon that I see the media really doing. You know what they say, the sequel's never as good as the original, and I feel like they're trying to recreate the Bill Belichick way. And I don't know how it's, I mean, on paper it looks good, but like I can't just sit here and say this is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady with Drake May and Vrabel. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, but I don't think Patriots fans want to hear this, but this might be a long progress for them. It might take time for them to be good again. It's going to be a long rebuild to them to me. I think this is a step in the right direction, but I'm not going to say this is a future dynasty like the Patriots.
It might be a long process, but if I think if it was any other coach, like Gerard Mayo, obviously last year, like they were quick to get him out. But I think if it was any other coach, there after 2 or 3 like lean years, they'd be like, get this guy out of here. Like what are we thinking? We've seen the Mike Vrabel turnaround in Tennessee, and we've seen what he can do with a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, who's a good quarterback but not a great quarterback. Like it is like Patriot way, like build the team up around him, like everyone buy in. Because even like Tom Brady's the best winner we've ever seen so far, but like he's not as talented as some of these other quarterbacks. But like the coaching,
the culture,
all that built him up and made him the type of winner that he is.
Was that like kind of the Parcells Belichick thing? Because Parcells was there a little before, and then because like the Patriots weren't an iconic franchise,
they really were
not at all.
Yeah.
So like, was this just a one-time thing with the Belichick era? I don't know. Only time will tell.
And because a lot of Belichick's like disciples have been really bad.
Yes,
but Vrabel's
been good.
Has not been, obviously. So that's why I have this blind confidence in him that he would be the one to turn around. And I would like I like Mike Vrabel a lot, like from what he did in Tennessee. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting against him super hard, and I don't want to sit here and say the stuff I'm saying. But like I just see this going so well for the Patriots.
And then the other one, Ben Johnson, the former Lions offensive coordinator, went to the Chicago Bears to hopefully develop Caleb Williams and bring back that franchise. I really like this move.
I really like this too.
Perfect timing for the Bears. Really like this for Caleb Williams and his development. Still think the kid's going to be really, really special. And yeah, I just love the move for them. I think they're going to start going in the right direction.
He even showed some growth throughout this year. But I think Ben Johnson's going to unlock something in him. This felt like one of the first times the Bears went out and hired a coach. I wasn't like a head-scratching, like kind of weird
so
coach.
True.
Like Lovie Smith back in the day.
Nagy.
I'm blanking on
Eberflus.
Eberflus. Like that was a weird hire. I know Nagy came from the Chiefs, but Lovie Smith, like that was a weird hire, and that was a couple of years ago.
And then I like the Bears made the right move. I'm a little shocked. I actually thought Ben Johnson wasn't going to choose them. The Jaguars were a high one, right? And then the Raiders.
It felt like the Raiders were kind of just like smoke. I said this to you. It felt like the Bears had already like made a hush-hush deal with him, but didn't leak it.
I think you might be right in that.
Just because of the...
Same with the Jets.
Yeah, but mostly because of the Caleb Williams. Like, you saw he got pranked by a group of kids.
He seemed like...
It seemed like
triple texted.
Yeah, he texted and was like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, can't wait to get to work. So it seemed like he already knew that Ben Johnson was a coach. That's why
Caleb definitely wanted him, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard Ben Johnson's press conference. I think it was yesterday or today. I heard it today. But I really like he's much more of a leader than I realized. Like, you know, when you're, especially under Dan Campbell, like he's a quiet guy, offensive coordinator behind the scenes. But like, I think this guy's going to be a superstar head coach. I really do.
I agree with that.
And if I'm a Bears fan, this is the best I'm feeling. Maybe since like 1985, I'm a Bears fan. Like, I'm feeling good. Like, I think the Bears are, next year might not be a playoff ready year. You're in a tough division, but see some progress, maybe 8-9 wins. And then the year after that, I think like they could be a scary team in the NFC, develop that offensive line. And okay, I'm calling it early. I think Ben Johnson's going to try to get his hands on Ashton Genty.
Oh, that
I can kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs.
And that offense is good. Besides that, obviously that line
they got to improve the line.
Needs to be built
obviously
up.
They got to improve the line. But
I thought like this past year, I remember we had this conversation before the year. Like you were saying, like you really want to watch like a lot of their games. I thought they were going to be sneaky good, and obviously that just did not pan out.
A lot of their games, like I would like look and I'd be like, oh, they're down 17-3 at half, and then they would do like a fake comeback and almost win. They almost won a lot of those games. Like Think of how much these two teams' seasons turned around. That Hail Mary to Noah Brown, shout out Sparta.
Yeah,
but
Sparta.
that Hail Mary the Commanders had to Noah Brown. Think of the drastic turn of events for both those teams after that.
Yeah.
Like, literally one play like that could have changed the entire year
That's
for
true.
the Bears.
That's true.
So, definitely think this is a step in the right direction. Another voicemail?
Hi, this is H calling from New Jersey. Question. I want to know why Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens aren't being given a fair shot being inducted to the Hall of Fame. I'm all for CC, Sabathia, and very excited, but I want these other people, players, to get a shot too. What do you think has to happen for this to become a reality?
So thanks for the call, Mom. Actually, shout out CC Sabathia for making the Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir.
Great career, Yankees legend.
And Ichiro.
Yep, Ichiro too.
But he's not going.
He's not a
Mariner,
Yankee legend,
yeah.
but obviously a Mariner. But
Yeah,
he was a
he
former
was a
Yankee.
Yankee.
But so to your call, Mom. Roger Clemens can't get in. His time passed, and Andy Pettit probably won't get in. It doesn't look like he's going to get in because of the steroid scandals they had. And I actually posted this on the social media. You guys think players that were involved in steroids should get in, and so do I. I frankly think you can't write the story of baseball that, especially guys like Roger Clemens.
There's always scandals in baseball.
Yeah.
Always.
And the Astros, Carlos Beltran's going to get in probably next year. That was a cheating scandal.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys are going to get in. Like Jose Altuve will get in when his career is all said and
he's
done.
going to get in.
So if you're going to punish one era of cheating, you have to punish all the eras of cheating.
I agree.
And that just isn't going to happen. It just puts, like, even pitchers, a lot of them got caught a couple years ago using the sticky stuff. Like, all of those guys shouldn't get in if you're going to use that argument.
It happens in other sports. Like, is Tom Brady not getting in the Hall of Fame because of the Deflategate? Like, it's frustrating. Some of these guys, like, a lot of these guys would have been Hall of Famers regardless. Bonds, A-Rod, Sosa, Clemens. These are some of the best players ever. And they're not going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, it's frustrating to me because I think a lot of people are kind of just annoyed with the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't really like it at all. As far as Pettit, he isn't remembered as bad as Clemens because he didn't double down the lie. Clemens did. Pettit admitted to it. But it's frustrating. I don't think Pettit's going to get in, but he probably would have gotten in without the steroids use. But, I mean, another thing I don't like the Baseball Hall of Fame, something I don't get is, like, first off, there's one unanimous player in Mariano Rivera, which is ridiculous. Like, Ichiro should have been unanimous.
Jeter.
Yeah, Jeter. Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, all these guys aren't unanimous Hall of Famers.
I honestly think, there's just one or two writers out there that are like, oh, I know everyone else is going to do it.
They should have to explain.
And there's never been a unanimous guy besides Mariano Rivera, so they're just like, oh, I'm going to vote him no because, that's just how it happens.
But, another thing I don't like is, something I don't get is, why does a guy get in the 10th time but not the second or third? That makes no sense.
That does
to
make
me.
no sense.
It's just, I don't know. I think it's a mess. In order for this stuff to change, the baseball, the commissioner, they'd have to rediscuss, reopen. And you never know, maybe in 20, 30 years, because the steroid scandal, it's only 20 years ago. So maybe in a while they might relook at it and get these guys back to vote, which if you would vote them, they would Bond, Sosa, A-Rod, Clemens, they would easily get in.
They should get in. And
they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Even this is something little, but I don't know if you noticed this, all those guys are not in the baseball video game. These are some
You're right,
these are some legends, and you're just basically the league seems like they're ashamed to promote them. Everyone knows about them. Everyone talks about them. And people want to see them. People want to hear about them.
And I think it's just bad for the sport because famous NFL and NBA players that played before you were born, and they're not promoting these guys at MLB. Barry Bonds is an awesome player to cheer for. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, A-Rod, Clemens, these guys are cool guys to cheer for, and they're afraid to market them.
Yeah, and a lot of guys,
but
NFL,
the Astros are gonna,
NBA, they have their own scandals, and they still market them and show them. It all goes back honestly to MLB's problem with marketing the players. They just don't know how to do it. They do a bad job of it. I think that's what it goes back to.
And it's just frustrating. It's just annoying to me, man. Like these guys should be in the Hall of Fame. These guys were Hall of Famers before the steroids. Roger Clemens played till he was 44, man. Like
especially
Bonds is the all-time leading home run hitter. Like
Bonds would have had like 500 home runs even without the years he used steroids.
A-Rod's like one of the most talented. He might be the most talented player ever. Like it's a bad look.
And the steroids don't add talent; they just add strength.
No,
so.
yeah, like I mean, you're telling me it's steroids is cheating more than knowing what pitch is coming. Like, come on, man, like it's ridiculous.
Or the sticky stuff that adds spin rate to the ball.
These guys should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. They should.
Thanks for the call, Mom. Good question. Okay, so let's move on to college football. I know this is something we haven't discussed, but first off, congratulate Ohio State on winning the national championship. What I want to discuss is, what do you think of the playoff format? What did you like? What didn't you like?
So, I mean, I love that they expanded it. I think people complaining about the quality of the games, I get that in a sense, but also, like, you wanted more football, you got more football. You shouldn't be you should calm down on the complaining. I think what they should do, though, is they should eventually expand it to 16 teams, no buys, because I think there's no world where a team like Boise State or Arizona State should be getting a bye. They're great teams and they deserve to be in the playoff, but they definitely should not be getting a bye over teams like Ohio State.
Totally agree on this.
Who else?
Texas, Notre Dame. Like these teams made it far. Penn State didn't get a bye. Yeah,
and in a sense, Notre Dame will never even have a chance to get a bye because they're not in a conference.
Yeah, Notre Dame they won't. But like I think you should automatically get in if you win your conference, but just reseed. And I think Oregon ended up getting screwed over because of it, because they had to play an Ohio State team they literally barely beat. And I think it's good. I like how you saw a rematch from the regular season, and Ohio State had a horrible loss against Michigan. Most years, they're done. That's their last game of the year, except their stupid bowl game they would have had.
Notre Dame and Ohio State would not have gotten in.
Oh yeah,
in
none
a
of those teams.
In a 14 playoff. So I think that's cool, and it gave us cool matchups on college campuses with teams who aren't in the same conference that we would have never seen before this. So I think people got to hold off on the complaining.
It's new.
It's 1 year. Like the 14 playoffs, even those. Pretty much all the semifinal games were really bad.
I did not like the 14 format. It's new. It's gonna get better. I like longer football. I like the playoffs expanding. And I like how championship seasons are defined by bad losses. Like a lot of teams, that's how they win. Like the Chiefs last year, they had a struggle in regular season. And think of all sports, you have to go through a struggle to win it all. College football, you have to be perfect, basically.
Even Ohio State this year, after that Michigan game. Ohio State people were calling for Ryan Day's job.
Exactly, and then just won it all.
They're basically like, "Oh, what have you done for us here? You've never won anything." And then he went out, won it all. That had to be like the biggest weight lifted off his chest. And
yeah. So this is here to stay. They'll fix it. They'll make
tweaks and honestly maybe even expand it to 16. I can see that coming in the next 10 or so years.
Yep. Another call.
Yeah, we'll do.
So basically, we just have all calls, and then we'll. Should we do all calls now or NFC Championship last? Or the calls
We'll do the rest of the calls and then we'll do NFC Championship.
Let me. I'm gonna say we're gonna do the rest of the calls now.
Okay.
We're gonna do the segment of the rest of the calls.
Wait. Clap and then give it a second before you start talking.
We're gonna do a segment of the rest of the calls we didn't get to. Then we'll get into the NFC Championship.
Hey guys, this is Emily calling in from New York City. After CeCe was elected to the Hall of Fame, I was watching some clips from the 2009 World Series, and I just feel like the Yankees were far way off from that level of intensity in 2024. I know we made some great off-season moves so far, but I worry that the clubhouse culture isn't what it needs to be to win a World Series. Speaking as someone who was at Game 5 last year, and witness and watch that devastating fifth inning, the team was lifeless after that. Like, there was just no coming back, and everyone in the stadium knew it. We could feel that they weren't going to bounce back. In your opinion, what do the Yankees need to do to get back to that 2009 level of confidence and competition? Thanks.
So I bet that must have been devastating. Thanks for the call, but that must have been devastating to be at Game 5. But something I just think is erased from Yankees' minds is the Yankees actually bounced back after that. Cole pitched 2 more innings. They retook the lead, and they just lost, man. And last year, I thought the clubhouse was great last year. I didn't think that was an issue.
I thought the clubhouse culture and, like, togetherness was some of the best I've ever seen, honestly. I don't, like, obviously we don't know what the clubhouse culture is going to be like next year because we haven't seen anything. But I think they're making moves in the right direction.
After
especially like defensively, they're losing Juan Soto is a huge loss, but
they pivoted amazing.
They pivoted amazing, and they're on the right track to maybe make it back to the World Series.
And I think like last year, the reason why they lost to the Dodgers was their defensive holes and maybe a manager choice in the first game. You know, they win games 1 and 5. It's 3-2. You never know. But if you're going for the 09 team, I think this year's team is much more like that than last year's. You got Garrett Cole, Max Fried, which I think you can argue is better than CC and Burnett then. And then what the 09 team had is they had a lineup 1 through 9 that was just something like
Cano was
tough
hitting
to
like
see
7
in baseball, man. Like if you look at those averages and OPSs, it's unreal. And last year the Yankees were just a 2-man show withstanding in the playoffs. Like their bottom of the order was rough.
Let me ask you this though, because you say they're a 2-man show
Last year, yes.
Yeah, last year. A lot of their lineup is similar. They still got Jazz. They still got Volpe. They obviously switched out Rizzo for Goldschmidt. They still got Wells.
Okay, so
what do you have to say about
Wells
that?
improved a lot.
He
So
did?
Jazz was a trade deadline addition,
yeah.
so he only played 60 games. Goldschmidt, the Yankees were 30 out of 30 in first base production. If Goldschmidt is 15 out of 30, huge upgrade. And then third base they were terrible at until Jazz got there. And then they had Bellinger in the outfield. And then we're going to assume Jason Dominguez is better than Alex Verdugo. Alex Verdugo is one of the worst left fielders in baseball. So they definitely have a deeper lineup. I'm not going to call it a better lineup because there's no Juan Soto. But so that's what I mean with the 09 standard.
Okay.
I think they definitely improved the lineup. And
Yeah,
I think the Yankees are banking on guys like Volpe, Wells to get better.
Take that
Jazz,
step.
Jazz should if Jazz
Also
does what he
take a
does for a
step.
full if Jazz does for a full year. I mean, Jazz Chisholm was our third best hitter right when he got the regular season. Stand in playoffs, different monster. But overall, I mean, if you want, I think they'll be back. Like you said, I think we expect this team to be back in the World Series. And then with the Dodgers, if it's them, you never know.
I agree with that.
Thank you for the call.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Max from New Jersey. I'm just wondering, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Aaron Glenn as the next Jet head coach. What do you think? You in favor of it? Let me know. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Like I said earlier in the show, I like the move a lot. It is very similar to when we hired Saleh, except this move feels like there's less energy around it. When we hired Saleh, everyone was fired up, pumped up. They all felt like, oh, we got the next great coach. They were saying some of the same things about Saleh that they're saying about Glenn, that like he's going to go in, implement his own things. He's not going to get pushed around. And they said that about Saleh. Saleh got pushed around every which way. So I think Glenn just has to not allow that to happen to him. And like I mentioned before about Glenn, I like what he did. I like his experience in New Orleans under Sean Payne. He knows what a winning culture looks like. And like I mentioned earlier, also his time in Detroit, he got there. His first year, they were a 3-win team. This past year, they were a 15-win team. So he was part of a coaching staff that oversaw the growth from a bad team to a great team.
I'll keep it short and simple. Good move. Jets fans should be more excited.
I agree.
Hi, this is Hank, first-time caller from Pennsylvania. I'm just calling to talk about the only NFL team that plays all of its games in New York State.
Good point.
And I know you guys are New York City-centric with your discussion and your teams. I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills and their chances of winning, going all the way now to the Super Bowl. While their defenses have been a little elastic over the course of the season, they've played just well enough to beat everybody that they've played in the important games. And now they come up against Kansas City, who they've been able to handle in the regular season, but not in the postseason. So I'd like your take on their chances of winning the game against KC this weekend and then going on to beat the winner of the Eagles Generals game. So for Commanders game, I'm sorry. So if you can talk about this and give me your insight, I'd appreciate it. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you for the call. So, if I'm a Bills fan, I mean, I just think, honestly, like, this game just comes down more than just the play in the field. I think it's a mental thing, like I said earlier. I think I'm nervous, but, I mean, I think last year was their best chance, but I think they got a decent shot to win this game. Like, I think if they win this game, they're Super Bowl champions. Personally,
I agree.
this is the Super Bowl. To me, I think this is the Super Bowl.
I agree. I think the winner of this game does win the Super Bowl. The only thing about the Bills, I think they need a receiver to step up. I think they're gonna have to keep up with the Chiefs' offense. I think both teams are gonna be scoring a lot, and I think what it comes down to is the Kansas City defense is just better than the Bills' defense. The Bills' defense, like the caller said, has done enough to win games all year, but. Games all year against these great teams, but I just don't see them hanging with the Chiefs.
These guys
offense.
need to step up, and they just gotta go in this mindset. They gotta say screw it. They gotta step up, and if you're these Bills players, this is what you're thinking about in January, and you're lifting those weights in those hot summer practices. You're thinking about January against the Kansas City Chiefs. And you gotta say to yourself, this is your moment. This is our time. You gotta take it from the Chiefs, and you gotta be ready to You gotta be ready to do everything you can to take it away from the final boss. This is it, man. If the Bills win this game, they're winning the Super Bowl. I'm convinced. And I just don't think they would make it and lose to a team they're better than, which I think they're better than both teams in the NFC.
I agree.
We on any more calls?
No, that's all.
Okay. Wait, did my brother call?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's a funny
I got
one,
you,
actually.
Matt.
This is a funny one. It was in the middle of all the calls, so I
you're
totally
good.
missed it. Okay.
Yep, this could be a funny one.
Yeah.
What's up, John? This is Ed calling in from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Who would you least rather have in the finals? LeBron James or Aaron Judge?
Okay. Thanks for the call. Aaron Judge, well, this could have been a funny question in 2011 when LeBron came up short in the finals, but since then LeBron has made the finals 8 more times and has won 4 championships and is the all-time leader in points, most stats in the NBA finals, and to me is the biggest big-time performer in basketball history. He's a 4-time finals MVP, and it's Aaron Judge, unfortunately. Aaron Judge has come up short in the playoffs. It's frustrating to see. He's one of the best hitters I've ever seen. But what I got to say about Aaron Judge is all he needs is one postseason.
I thought he was framing this question like, who would you personally rather like?
I think he said who.
Yeah,
I think so.
I thought he was asking you like, who would you least rather watch?
Aaron Judge. Then that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I said. Yeah, I said Aaron Judge. I trust less. That's why I trust less. I think I said Aaron Judge.
I thought it was like a personal question, like who would you rather watch in the finals?
Oh no, I think he's saying who do I trust less.
Yeah,
which
okay.
is it's Aaron Judge. I think he's trying to mess with me about LeBron because that's what we've been doing our whole lives. But Aaron Judge needs one postseason turnaround, man, and if he wins a World Series with the Yankees, he's a Yankees legend and might be a top 5 Yankee ever. But okay, so
Aaron Judge just has so much more aura than LeBron.
I wouldn't say that.
Like all LeBron's aura is like artificially manufactured. Like him reading that book, him trying to get pictures of him and Bronny. Like when Bronny got subbed into that first Lakers game, he was purposely trying to like stand next to Bronny to get pictures and stuff.
LeBron has more aura than any athlete ever.
All of Aaron Judge's aura is just like he almost seems like a little camera shy. Like he just exudes.
He definitely is.
He just exudes aura. You know. He doesn't even have to try. LeBron tries.
This might be the first ever Aaron Judge LeBron James argument. So this is something new. So all right, let's move on. Let's get into the NFC Championship. Commanders, Eagles, 2 NFC East teams. These 2 teams obviously played twice this year and they split. And The Eagles are 14-1 in their last 15 games with 1 loss against the Commanders. What do you think of this game, Henry?
This is going to be a fun matchup. You know, this is a nightmare for Giants fans seeing Saquon, and then also Jaden Daniels could have been a Giant if Tommy Cutlets didn't win those 3 games last year.
I hate you, Tommy DeVito. I hate you, Tommy DeVito. Like, you do whatever, just stupid thing, whatever. You suck. You're on the side of the streets. You know you're not. You probably live in Morristown somewhere. But you pissed me off because you ruined a shot at a franchise quarterback, and I'm really jealous. And this could be a fun game. I mean, you know, this is what I kind of like about NFL. Like, you got a matchup we've seen so many times, and then you have Eagles Commanders, which is like, I don't think anyone expected this to be the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I don't think most people expected the Commanders to even get out of the first round this year. They've just been playing lights out. I saw a stat that I think it was before that Bucs game. Their last 5 games were like 1-possession games or something. They're calling them the Cardiac Commanders, and a couple of the things that I saw. So they just keep finding a way to win, and just exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, so part of me, I think it might have been a little like off the high of seeing the Commanders win. I was watching this, I'm like, wow, like, is this a team that like could win the Super Bowl? Like, I'm like, there hasn't been a fairy tale Super Bowl team in a while. Obviously the Giants did it. Like, the 2010 Packers were a wild card team. Actually, Tampa was a wild card team in 2020.
Yeah.
Like,
also,
I wouldn't really consider them.
That Ravens team that won with Flacco.
Yes, that's one.
Team.
Yep. And then the Eagles were a bit of a wild card with Foles because they had a backup quarterback. But I'm like, is this and then the way they kind of just remind me of some of those old Giants teams. Like, they have nothing to lose. Like, I just feel like they play with nothing to lose. They had a great system. And part of me thinks, like, is this a team that could beat the Chiefs? Because, like, I think a lot of these teams have a mental thing with the Chiefs. They've seen it. Jaden Daniels was playing college football last year. Like, he might just not.
Yeah. Also, I want to push back on that a little bit. I don't know if they're playing with nothing to lose. I think Dan Quinn is just extremely calculated and makes the right decisions. Also, like I mentioned this earlier, Jaden Daniels plays like a veteran. Like, he can stand back there in the pocket. The pocket can break down, and he's just like stone cold, standing there like just getting ready to throw the ball. Like, the pressure doesn't get to him. He's just so like cool, calm, and collected.
Quarterbacks to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl: Eli Manning, Nick Foles. Could Jaden Daniels be a type of guy that could pull off the upset? Like it's teams you don't see, man. Like, I'm just going off the Patriots. So like I'm thinking ahead. Like, obviously they have to win this game first, but I don't know. Like, part of me thinks, could this team win a Super Bowl? You never know. Like, this could be the next fairy tale in the NFL. But to focus on this game, what to look for? Could the Commanders stop the Saquon Barkley and the Eagles' run game? No one has.
I don't think that they need to, though.
I think their offense is so good.
Their offense is so good, and also, if like just watching the Rams game last week, Saquon went for over 200 yards, and the Rams still had a chance to win it on that last drive. So I think you can. It's one of those things where you can give them that, but take away everything else, and you still have a chance to win the game.
Is it crazy? I would much rather Jaden Daniels than Jalen Hurts right now. Is that a crazy
That's
take?
not crazy at all.
Because Jalen Hurts he has a knee issue. I don't know how that's gonna go.
Yeah,
if he's limited, the Eagles are in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see even last week in that Eagles game, like when he took the safety, there was no getting out of that. Also, the Eagles got the ball down to the 2-yard line, and it was second down. It felt like a situation where they would do a double tush push, and they didn't do it at first, and then on like 4th and goal they did do it. But yeah, and also his comments after the game. So like, I feel like the knee is something to look out for.
Yeah, I can't tell if I'm overthinking this game because like the Eagles are a better team. Like, they're much more ready for this than the Commanders are. Like, with their roster in a win now mode. But like, this is gonna be a fun matchup. You got a
I wouldn't be surprised.
Division matchup in the conference championship.
I would not be surprised if Washington won.
Okay. So,
also, like Dan Quinn's made it to the Super Bowl before as a head coach.
Yeah. So before we chose the Chiefs earlier, before we choose this game, I got a more fun question to ask. What Super Bowl do you want to see? Not that you think.
I want to see Bills versus Commanders.
Okay, I think I want to see that one too.
Okay.
But so we both picked the Chiefs. I'm picking the Commanders to win this game. I'm going an upset.
I'm picking the Commanders too.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're both going Chiefs Commanders. That could be a cool Super Bowl. I don't know why. I just really don't want to see Chiefs Eagles. Even though it was a really good game 2 years ago, I don't want to see another Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs because we had it with the 49ers last year.
And
that was a rematch, and then this will be another rematch. I kind of want to see the Chiefs play a team because I think they would have the mental edge over Philly. I kind of want to just see like a new team that the Chiefs they've never seen.
Yeah.
Not at all in the regular season or playoffs prior. So I think that could be a cool matchup.
Yeah. So I want Bills Commanders, but I do think it's going to be Chiefs Commanders. I really see the Commanders pulling off this upset.
I think I'm worried about Hurts, and then the Eagles got to use their duo receiver more, man. I think they had a bad game last week. I don't know the exact stats, but it wasn't great, and they got to use those guys more.
Yeah, A.J. Brown hasn't really been getting as much run with Saquon
they don't pass
this
the ball.
year.
They just don't pass the ball.
Also,
Hurts is limited.
If Hurts is limited, like they won't be passing
7
the ball
in the
this
box.
weekend. Yeah.
Just make Hurts beat you, which I think that's the way to beat the Eagles.
Well, if
good that run game
if they
is.
do put 7 in the box, that definitely will open up the pass game, like some quick throws.
Yeah, definitely.
Stuff like that.
So I'm excited for these games. I will say. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think that's all we have.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in. Next week we will know our Super Bowl winner. Super Bowl excuse me, I'm a little early. Super Bowl matchup. Obviously, we will talk about that. And hopefully we get more New York sports news. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify, like rate 5 stars, I think it is, or follow the podcast. Follow us on all our social medias. Like, comment, share the videos. Thank you.
And don't forget to comment Jets or Giants, who makes it back to the conference championship first. Thank you.
We'll make that post.
Yep.